We are up to I believe, Pasuk Vav. Okay, and let me know what I can do. I can post the Pasukim on the screen. 1 minute, and I will get it up on the screen. Judy, can you enable me to share, please? Can I screen share, please?
1 second. I'm doing it. Where are you? Okay, you can do what you want. Oops.
Okay. Everyone sees that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So Pasuk Vav. Al tiruni sha'ani shechar choires. Don't see me. And what the connotation here is, remember, we're talking about somebody who's full on and caked with mud because they were in the desert in the time of a flash flood, and all the mud is upon them. Or sheshizafsani hashemish, I'm burned by the sun. This is not my color. B'nei imini charubi. My mother's children were incensed against me. Samuni notera esakramim karmi sheli lo natarti. And they forced me to keep their vines, to watch over their vineyards, but my own vineyard I did not keep. And Rashi says, again, the same thing that we said in the previous pasuk. This is not naturally who I am, right? This does not define me. This is not my identity. My sins and my mistakes are not who I am. I made mistakes, I sinned, but I am not a sinner and I am not a mistake. Okay, my mother's sons were incensed against me. These are the Egyptians among who I grew up with, and they went with me in the mixed multitudes, the Erev Rav, who we're constantly hearing about in almost every parsha now that we're in Sefer Bamidbar, this group of people who just make trouble. And what is the trouble that they make? What do they keep? What is their incitement? Oh, their incitement is very simple. They put me to work on their vineyards. They force me to watch over their vineyards, to tend to their things, and they don't free me up, and they don't let me tend to my own. Okay, so Rashi says, while I'm tending to their vineyards, I got burned by the sun. And that made me a worshiper of alien gods, of Avodah Zarah, Elokim Acherim. And my own vineyard, which I had from my forefathers, the Torah, I neglected, right? As it says in Hosea, and I will give to her the vineyards from there, which the Targum renders, and I will appoint her leaders for her. So the Kramim is a reference here. He says to our fathers, to our leaders, instead of listening to our leaders, instead of doing our tafkid, we went to do somebody else's tafkid. So the Alshech HaKadosh says, Al teruni shanish chachores, Knesset Yisrael, Klal Yisrael says to Hashem and to the Umos, don't look at me and mock me, right? We know that one of the big debates throughout the year that the Christians have thrown our way is to say, oh, well, you were the chosen nation, but when you served the Avodah Zarah and you created the golden calf, Hashem rejected you, and now we are the chosen nation, right? We have replaced you. So don't mock me about my bad choices. Don't mock me for my sins. Don't mock me for everything I did, because that's not who I am. I wasn't born like this. This is not in my DNA. This is not who I am. This is not the makeup of my identity. It happened to me. Because the sun beat down on me and did this to me. I could change very easily because it's not natural. It's not who I am. And this is, we started discussing this last week. This is one of the biggest Yetzer Haras, and how the Yetzer Hara attempts to try to swindle us into giving up and into really becoming sinners. Because it's one thing to sin. Everybody sins, everybody makes mistakes. But the question is, what happens in our mind? How do we define ourselves? How do we see ourselves? How do we identify? So here Klal Yisrael is making a very strong statement. I do not identify myself as a sinner. I may have sinned, but I am not a sinner. I made mistakes. I am not a mistake. The minute a person crosses over that line and it gets confused and they say, wait a second, well, if I did this terrible thing, and everybody has their idea of what's terrible, right? Then I am a terrible person. And when we begin to believe this about other people as well, we are in essence trapping ourselves, or the person whom we believe about this as well, into a cycle of sinning, because that's what they are. Hare, they're a sinner. That defines them. That's what they are. So here Klal Yisrael is pointing out one other very important point, and that is tending my garden versus tending others' gardens. So this is always a very fine line to walk, as we're instructed, and we know that a very important part of our existence is doing chesed, and is being kind to others, and is extending ourselves. However, there is a boundary, and that boundary is what is going to be in terms of me taking care of myself and making sure that I am okay versus taking care of others first. So it's a very strong balance. And I think the answer is very simple, that when we do a chesed, we have to check to make sure that it's actually a chesed and that it's okay for us to do it, right? And in terms of ourselves, we also have to make sure that, is this something that I can do? Is this something that is right for me to do? Am I staying in my lane by doing this chesed? Because there could come a point where a person crosses the line between trying to help somebody to controlling somebody. And we never, chas v'shalom, want to control somebody, because the minute we're starting to control somebody else, we're not in control of ourselves, and we're not working forward towards our tikkun and towards our shar hatshuva. Rabbi Nachman describes that there are many, many, many gates of tshuva, and it's very easy for me to walk through your gate of tshuva, but it's very difficult for me to walk through my gate of tshuva, right? So when we know that things are too easy or too simple, we have to check and make sure that I'm really in my gate of tshuva, and this is what I'm supposed to be doing, because walking through our own gate of tshuva is very difficult. Okay, so here this is a call and mourning over not having taken care of myself first, and not having tended to my garden, but rather been so busy with other people's gardens, and specifically here vineyards. Okay, Pasuk Zayin. Hagida li she'ava nafshi. Tell me, who does your soul love? Echa tir'eh. Where will you feed? Echa tarbitz. Where will you rest? But Saharayim, at noon, when the sun is at its strongest. Shlomo eye ka'otia al edrei chaverech. Why should I be like one who veils herself besides the flocks of your companions? So what is this pasuk talking about? Who is speaking here, right? Who is talking? Because we know Shir HaShirim is a dialogue. So up until now, all the psukim were said by Knesset Yisrael, and it was obvious. But who is speaking here? So Rashi tells us, Achshav Ruach HaKodesh Choser, and now HaKodesh Baruch Hu is speaking, and he repeatedly compares her to the flock that is beloved. So here HaKodesh Baruch Hu answers Klal Yisrael, who Klal Yisrael is saying, right, Nishakenim and Nishikos Pihu, Kitoivim Dodech Miyayin, kiss me, mashcheni, draw me in, right? All these requests that Klal Yisrael, and then there's like this disclaimer of like, and by the way, right, I'm not this bad person that you might think I am, right? So now Hashem answers back, and Hashem says, tell me, you whom my soul loves. The divine spirit repeatedly compares her to the flock that is beloved to the shepherd. The congregation of Israel says before him, as a woman to her husband, tell me, whom my soul loves, right? Where do you feed your flock among those wolves? So this is Klal, this is Knesset, this is Hashem speaking, right? In Klal Yisrael is taking Hashem's words, as Hashem is constantly comparing Klal Yisrael to the flock, and then Klal Yisrael is building on Hashem's words of comparing us to the flock and saying, shepherd, you have this huge flock. How are you going to take care of us, right? How are you going to feed us? How are you going to protect us from the wolves? How are you going to provide for us enough shade at noon, right? And this, Rashi says, is Klal Yisrael asking, okay, Hashem, we know you love us. You've said you loved us, and you've told us that you're our shepherd and that you're going to watch over us. But how are you going to do this? You have this huge flock with so many needs, and we're at a very distressful time. I think this is a great pasuk for today. And Hashem is going to answer us. Hashem has answered us today. Hashem has protected us in a tremendous, miraculous way. So Rashi is paraphrasing Klal Yisrael's question. And then it continues. Shlomo oyeh ka'otcha. Why should I be like the one who veils herself? So what does it concern you? It's not dignified for you that I should be like a mourner with a veil over my lip, weeping for my flock. Klal Yisrael is saying to Hashem, you don't want to put me in this place of hashpala, that Klal Yisrael should be downtrodden, because it's not lefich vodcha, Hashem. It's not for your kavod that Klal Yisrael should be in such an awful place, right? There was this video going around from Rav Shmuel Shapiro, a Rosh Hashiva, and I believe in Tel Aviv, where he was saying, look at what Hashem did for Klal Yisrael with this attack in Iran, and we could apply it to the same thing with the beepers, that Klal Yisrael was downtrodden, right? We were in a bad place after October 7th, right? And here our Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us kazeh haramat rosh, that we can lift our heads and say, look how Hashem is protecting us. Look how Hashem is defending us. Look at this incredible technology which Hashem has given to us. You know, if we think about it, right? How did Moshe Rabbeinu perform all of the Eser Makos and all of the miracles at the Yam? He had a staff, right? He had the mateh. What was this mateh? So perhaps we could think of this, that the mateh is just some kind of technology, right? So Hashem gave Moshe Rabbeinu this amazing ability to do things, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us this mateh today, which is this protective, the Kela David and the Kippat Barzel and all of the Hatzlacha of all of these amazing bombs and planes and Shaliach, right, Shlichim that we have. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us this shmira, this technology of miracles. We have to see it, the technology, as a miracle itself. As HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying here, this is my answer to you. You want to know, you don't have to wear a veil of shame, of mourning. But go be proud, right? Put up all these videos, Am Yisrael Chai, and be proud to be Jewish, and be proud to be part of Klal Yisrael. So, al edrei chavirecha, besides the flocks of your companions, besides the flocks of the other shepherds who pasture flocks as you do, among the flocks of the heathens, who rely on pagan deities and who have kings and princes who lead them. So here Rashi is saying, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give you shmira even more than he watches over all of the other flocks, right? Every Klal Yisrael is going to merit an even greater shmira. And we saw this in the previous pasuk, where we were talking about good scent versus good food, right? When someone opens up a good scent, everybody gets to smell. But serving food, you have to be invited to the table. So we said that that's the difference between Hanhaga Nisit, miraculous, the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu acts with us with the miracles, that's given a food, given a seat at the table. And the Hanhaga Nisis, the Hanhaga Tivis, the natural order, which HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us miracles, that is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for the entire world. That is set, okay, where everyone is invited, everyone could come close to. But you, Klal Yisrael, you have a special seat at the table. And here HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us in Pasuk Chet, Im lo seidilecha hayafa banashim. If you don't know that you are the most beautiful woman out there, Hashem is saying this to Klal Yisrael, right? Klal Yisrael is the woman. Se'ilach be'ikve hatzon. Go your ways in the footsteps of the flocks. Ure'i es gediosayich al mishkenos haroim. And pasture your flocks, right? Besides the shepherd's dwelling. In other words, if you don't realize, if you think that there's any woman who's more beautiful than you, go check it out. And this is what Rashi tells us. Im lo seidi lecha, zuhi hatshuva haroeh. This is the response of the shepherd. If you if you don't know where you should go to feed your flock, in other words, if you don't know where you should go to get satiated, to have your needs fulfilled, go do a seker, go do a survey, go see what's going on in the world. Hayafa banashim, you are the most beautiful of all women. And you'll see that I'm not with all the other flocks. I'm with you because it's you that I'm interested in. Yeah, 1 second. One minute. Okay, so if you can't see that I'm the one with you, right? My loyalty is with you. My attention is to you. I'm taking care of you more than I'm taking care of any other of the other flocks, right? Those flocks do get taken care of, but it's you who's the main one. It's you who merits this special treatment, this special relationship that we have is only between me and you. And if you don't believe me, go take a survey, go look around the world, go see what's happening in every other place, right? I mean, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is showing this to us now. We are literally living these psukim where Hashem has said, you know what? Look what's happening. There's a war in Ukraine and Russia, right? You don't see it too often because we're so busy with what's going on here, but every once in a while you have these lines that, 22 people were killed in a drone attack. 15 people were killed in a drone attack. They're returning the bodies of I think 6,000 soldiers that were Ukrainian soldiers that they are holding in Russia, the bodies, they're returning them. 6,000 soldiers. Hashem Yishmor. What we are living miracles, and we are this tiny nation. Look at the map and see Israel, this nice little slither, and see Iran, this gigantic, right? Could fit probably 5 or 6 Israels into Iran, if not more, right? Maybe someone wants to look it up on ChatGPT, okay? And they have some of the richest nations backing them, and we're surrounded by hostile enemies. And yet HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle. I mean, did you know that there was so much open space in this country, right? I don't understand why we have a housing crisis, right? There's Shetach Patuach. Just now we had in Tzfat, Nisim. Just 27 minutes ago, we were in our Mamadim and there was Nifilot and Baruch Hashem, no one was injured. We're living in a completely different plane. right? As opposed to what our Baruch Hashem, through the Siyata Deshmaya of Hashem Yisparach, giving us the Siyata Deshmaya, what Hashem did for us in Iran, which is there's all kinds of jokes going around that Trump is going to build a golf course in Iran because he already has the 12 holes there, right? Okay, from all of the bombing. And it was the success and the miduyakut to be able to do that, chaste Hashem kilo samnu, with no nezek to our pilots who came back, Baruch Hashem, bari v'shalem. So Hashem is showing us right now. Hashem is showing us exactly what's happening, exactly how much He loves us. And if you don't believe, tzilach be'ekve'atzon, go look, go read the newspaper, open up the newspaper, see what's going on. So the Alshech HaKadosh explains this Pasuk. Alshech HaKadosh says, the Alshech HaKadosh says, Agidali masha ava nafshi. Echa tire, what's a lomar? In ki ma'amin anoichi b'choli bi. Ki lo la'olam tiznach, lo la'netzach tiktzov. The Alshech says that Klal Yisrael in the previous pasuk is turning to Hashem and saying, I know that you're going to take care of me in the Galus, and I know that you won't be angry at me forever, and you won't leave me in the Galus forever. You will take me out. V'od tavo eight, and the time will come, asher tekabetz tzon marisecha, that you are going to gather the sheep which you have scattered in the four corners of the earth. Hamifuzarot b'chol but even though I know that you're going to bring me back, and I know that you're going to redeem me, I'm still wondering. And notice the word. What word is this? Echa. Echecha is from Echa, right? Which we know is from the Megillas Echa. How? And it goes back to the Chumash, right? It goes back to Moshe, Klal Yisrael, and Moshe, which used this word. But what's going to be with us now in this bitter golus? Where will you find for us a place to lie us down in the heat of the day? Because if you put us down in the middle of the high sun, it's not healthy for us. That's not good for us. This is very similar to a pasuk which we're very familiar with from Perek Chof Gimel of Tehillim, where David HaMelech says, Hashem ro'i lo echsar, Hashem is my shepherd, I shall not want. And then he goes on to describe Hashem's shepherding skills. Hashem's shepherding skills are Hashem bin no'is deshe yarbitzeni.
Alert! There's an alert! There's an alert!
There's an alert.
There's an alert now.
There's an alert that we are going